is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty behind the camera, and this is the 2023 Jaguar F-Pace. This one happens to be in the S trim, and we are taking a look at a beautiful Portofino blue on caraway tan interior. Beautiful vehicle to take a look at today. We're going to be detailing all of the features on the exterior as well as interior. And we're also going to take it out for a test drive towards the end of the video. So stay tuned with us, and we're going to start off with the features of the exterior. First off, we have full LED headlamps as standard on every single F-Pace for 2023. So the high and low beams as well as the daytime running lights and turn signals are all illuminated. You can see very nice, all lit up. We also have headlight washers up there as well. We have some very nice subtle chrome accents found throughout the vehicle, mainly on the front with the side grills and on the front main grille. Very beautiful looking main grille to this vehicle. But we do have parking sensors that span the front bumper as well as the rear bumper. And to round it all off, at the very bottom we have LED fog lights. Again, looks very nice, all illuminated. But yeah, very nice looking grille. You can see the details in there. We also have the Jaguar logo front and center. Some very nice creases that round out the hood that go down into the grille, and some very nice optional wheels that measure up at 20 inches. As you can see, the tires measure 255/50 up front, and very nice bi-color design for the wheels. We have some nice elements towards the side with the Jaguar logo as well. Chrome surrounding the wheel arches, and some nice painted silver accents down at the bottom of the doors, and your silver roof rails, panoramic sunroof up top, and the shark fin antennas up there too. If we take a look towards the side mirrors, we can see we have the blind spot warning and the turn signal indicators. You also have smart key entry on all four of the door handles. Just press to lock and put your hand behind the handle to unlock. And again, that goes for all four doors. See, this particular car stickers for $61,430, and we do have a couple of optional extras on this vehicle, including the cold climate pack, which we definitely need today. It is a quite cold day here in Connecticut. We have a nice spoiler up here with, again, the shark fin antenna like you saw earlier. And same as up front, we have LED rear lights as well. So the turn signals, tail lights, and brake lights are all LED. Very nice, all lit up. Parking sensors again back here, and a couple of badges such as the F-Pace badge and another Jaguar badging with the third wiper up top, and down below the trunk release and the reversing camera. And we also do have some hidden exhaust tips for that turbocharged 4-cylinder. So what do we think of the styling on the F-Pace? I personally have always loved the look of this car ever since it came out, and it's a very nice design evolution with the sort of same generation, but definitely a facelift on that. So let's discuss some of our drivetrain options, since there are actually 3 different motors you can get with the F-Pace as of 2023. So accompanying us today in the S trim level as well as the basic F-Type trim is a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4 that produces 247 horsepower, 269 pound-feet of torque. Then we also have the R Dynamic S, which is the next trim level up. That will have a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6 cylinder with 395 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque. And then we have sort of the crazy trim level, the SVR. That has a 5-liter supercharged V8 with 542 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. That is going to be quite the bonkers SUV. But for today, we have more of the normal subdued powertrain, which has plenty of power, and we will figure out how that does on our test drive loop. Other bits of information: all-wheel drive is standard across the F-Pace range, and you'll also get an 8-speed automatic regardless of engine choice. Okay, so we do have a full powered liftgate with the F-Pace. And once it's opened up, we have a pretty good amount of space in there. Take a look at that. Lots and lots of goodies that come with this particular F-Pace, and a bit of accessories such as coat hangers and things of that nature. But yeah, once you open it up, good amount of space in here. You even have grocery bag hangers to either side over here and towards the back. Some LED illumination again on either side, and some storage extensions as well. You also get this very nice all-weather mat, and when you lift that up, you of course have the carpeting and a bit of extra space underneath with all of your tire changing goodies underneath that. We of course have a cargo shade that closes down with the trunk, and as you can see, if you're feeling strong, you can close down the trunk with these handles or simply just press the button. Let's start off the interior with the rear seats, namely the rear doors. Beautiful appointment on this interior for this vehicle. I think it's just a really nice color combination, the dark blue and the sort of light tan leather interior. Nice soft to the touch materials up here with sort of the same color stitching. A very nice sort of wood grain, as well as lots of just bright work on the inside of this car with these speaker grills and the door grabs, and also some more speaker accents down below. But just take a look at this color. You know, it's not a really light tan, and it's also not a brown. It's a very nice sort of in between to those two colors. I think it looks beautiful. I have the window switch and a bit of storage towards the bottom. Of course, a couple of speakers on the door. Nice little stainless steel entryway. And here is our rear seats. Very nice looking. You can also fold down the rear headrest. As you can see, the passenger side is fold down like that to get some more visibility out of the rear window. You can also fold down the rear seats with this little switch right there. As you can see, they fold down flat. You could fold down the pass-through with a little button right next to the center headrest. And that, of course, will gain access to the trunk. And if you needed a combination of cargo space and the passenger space back here, then that definitely has you covered. And one more thing we can fold down is the center armrest, and that has a couple of cup holders. So I set up the front seat to a normal driving position for myself, and I stand at 5'10". So just a frame of reference, I do have a nice couple of inches of legroom back here for myself. You also have these sort of accessory hooks to put in place coat hangers and things like that that Jaguar will provide for you. We have a couple of air vents back here, a little bit of storage, and a 12-volt power outlet. Nice small drivetrain hump too, so if you had this fit a center passenger back here, you definitely can. Heated rear seats, of course, are available, but not equipped on this particular vehicle. We have LED illumination back here and the grab handles, and a very nice large panoramic sunroof, as you can see, in conjunction with the rear headrest. It continues very nicely. And a very beautiful view of the front dashboard. Alrighty, the driver's door is very similarly appointed as the rear, so that is good. Nice soft to touch leatherette up here, and the leather starts on our armrest. Nice wood and bright work just like out back, and the handles, we have the lock unlock for the door locks. Of course, we have the window switches and our power mirror adjustments. They also do our power folding, and also have powered child locks for the rear. A bit more of storage up front as well. And on the left of the dash, we have an air vent with a nice bit of leather trimming and stitching. Over here we have a couple of controls to release the rear trunk, and also a gauge dimmer. Down here we have some pretty neat looking pedals covered in rubber, and our hood release right over here. Very nice quality to the carpeting, and a Jaguar door sill. Just a very beautiful color for the interior. And you even get the Jaguar cat embossed and the headrest. Lots and lots of stitching and perforations on the seat as well. A very, very supportive seat. And of course we have all of the normal controls in addition to 4-way lumbar. Okay, so here goes the key for the F-Pace. We have a nice Jaguar script on the rear of the key. We also have the physical key on the inside in case you needed to use that. We also have a lock, unlock button on the top. The ability to turn on the exterior lights from the key fob so you can kind of locate your car in a busy parking lot. You can also pop the trunk and also a panic alarm too. So lots of functionalities on the key fob, and it's very nice looking as well. We of course have push button start right next to the shifter. And all of the buttons, or I should say a good portion of the buttons on this vehicle, kind of hide away until you turn the vehicle on, and then they will kind of appear with some very nice lighting. They're sort of backlit, almost capacitive touch button for kind of all of the buttons within the interior. So let's get a focus on this beautiful looking steering wheel. I really like how they continued that beige tan color onto the steering wheel. It looks very, very beautiful and modern. We have all of our voice command buttons as well as Bluetooth telephone controls, and all of the controls for the LCD portion of the gauge cluster in there as well. We will get through how to configure that gauge cluster in just a minute. And to the other side we have our heated steering wheel button, which of course we will turn on. We have our lane guidance control and all of our adaptive cruise control settings as well on the right side. Very nice large paddle shifters mounted to the steering wheel, as you see. A couple of stalks towards the back, one for your automatic lighting, your turn signals, as well as front and rear fog lamps. We also have an informational button at the end of the stalk, again to configure the screen. And our other stalk is of course used for our front and rear wipers. That brings me up to the LCD gauge cluster. So a good portion of the speedometer, or I should say gauge housing, is an LCD screen. So you kind of see this sort of box right here is all LCD, and the rest is kind of like an analog speedometer and rev counter as well. So mainly we'll be using these buttons as well as the scroll wheel to configure that screen up there, in addition to the button at the end of the stalk. So if you press that, kind of various sort of trip settings mostly will pop up at the top of the dash. As you see, you know, kind of real-time miles per gallon, the date and time, things like that, distance still empty for your fuel, and all of that good stuff. But let's take a look at how we can configure this main screen. So to start configuring, you just press in the scroll wheel, and then you could scroll down to sort of configure what you see in the center in a sort of main screen, which is pretty neat. You can also scroll over to get various trip information, media and audio controls, various different warnings or tire pressure informations, and that's pretty neat. So if we go down to a kind of combination between media and driver's assistance, that'll kind of change up your sort of, I guess you could say, home screen for the instrument cluster up here. Upper dash is very nicely appointed with some stitching, and we have a couple of air vents. Right in the center we have the hazards button, and that brings me down to our infotainment screen. Nice large touchscreen, very clear, and also very easy to get used to if you're not so familiar with the screen. So first of all, let's check out the navigation screen. So we have the map over here, and then kind of you input your destination right up top. We have our phone screen as well as the radio. So it's kind of what is playing at the moment. We have our presets and all of the stations. If we scroll over, it kind of enlarges our home screen, I guess you could say, to a energy impact screen, which is pretty neat. You can kind of select various informations towards the bottom, but we have a kind of driving style energy impact screen, and I'll kind of show you what is taking up energy within your vehicle. So we have the heated steering wheel on, that's taking a bit, and the climate controls is taking a bit of energy. This also will give you some economical tips to get you a little bit better gas mileage, and you also have a history of your recent driving. Pretty neat screen there. We can also go over to our settings, where we can adjust the brightness of the gauges and the screen. We have different themes, so we can kind of turn it into a dark theme or kind of like automatic, and we'll go with the headlights. We also have the auto brake function, which you could turn on and off, as well as the start stop. We can also adjust various things with our home screen, kind of take out or add different tiles there. We have all of our audio settings and all of our sort of settings for the entire vehicle. You can also quickly pull up our parking camera, which we do have the wide angle rear view, as well as the parking sensors activated. And then we can also press this button over here, which will kind of give us a jumbulation of our apps. One more thing I wanted to show you was the cabin lighting screen, and this is where you kind of configure your ambient lighting in this vehicle. So very neat, sort of shows that, or pictures that go along with each color, and you can also kind of create your own color with the ambient lighting. So pretty neat there. Going back, you can activate various things like your valet mode, get some economical driving data, your voice commands, and things like that. We also have a all surface information, kind of shows you what the all-wheel drive system is doing in real time, and then this also gives you sort of information based upon each driving mode this vehicle has. We'll get into that in just a minute. But that pretty much does it for the main screen. Very easy to get used to. You know, you can't get lost in all the menus and things like that, like some other infotainment screens. But nonetheless, very nice looking and very functional. Down here, of course, we have our dual zone climate control. So we have these two knobs, which are multifunction. So just as is, you can turn them and it will adjust your temperature. If you press them in, that will control your heated seats on this particular car, or if it was equipped, it will also function with the cooled seats. Pushing it again back to our temperatures, and if you pull it towards you, that will adjust your fan speed. Pretty neat solution to kind of clean up the climate control, but still very easy to get used to. Right over here we have our seat heating screen, so if you didn't want to press the knob in, you just kind of pull it up here. We also have an automatic function and sync for the climate control. We have our very nice heated windscreen, which is a very, very nice feature to have in the winter, especially up here in New England. We have, of course, the defroster for the rear and your AC settings, and the front defrost as well. Down here we have a wireless charging pad for your phone. And this brings me down to a small center stack here, which is a few buttons. We, of course, have that start-stop button, the audio volume knob, which is pretty neatly styled, and this is our gear selector, again, for that 8-speed automatic. So it's kind of like a suede material with some stitching. There's an unlock at the back, and you could press it forward for reverse, which of course will activate your reversing camera with the guidance lines. And all the way down into drive, you can also bump it over like so into a sport mode, and that is when you can start shifting with your paddle shifters. Pretty neat there. And then you also have a nice big P for park. Pretty cool solution here for the driving modes. You kind of press this button in, and that will kind of activate your different driving modes in the center cluster. So of course we have a dynamic, normal, comfort, and the eco, and then sort of a rain, ice, and snow mode, which is pretty cool. So we kind of leave it into comfort for now and push the button right back in, so it's item mind. We also have a sort of button right here to sort of like a hill descent control, and we can also turn on and off your traction control. Right over here we can slide this back, and we have a couple of nicely sized cup holders. You can also stand up your phone right in here. A little tray right here to put various smaller objects, maybe loose change and things like that. We have a 12-volt power outlet and a pretty nice center console lid. You can lift that up. You can see we have all the connections available to you in the vehicle. So we have a good combination of 12-volt power outlets. We also have a normal style USB and a USB-C with a pretty deep storage console in there. And that brings me over to the passenger area. They have a nice slab of the leather and wood trim and a lockable glove box. Open that, it's kind of a bin style and pretty good amount of room in there. It's all felt lined with a pen holder too. Taking a look towards the top, we have our frameless rear view mirror with the garage door home links. You have 3 of those. And up at our center stack, we have a couple of buttons up here for the sunroof and sunshade. So 2 separate buttons for both. As we can see, the sunshade does open very nicely. That's a little bit, I would say it's more translucent. That's a little bit of light in and will roll all the way back. We have a sunglass storage back here, and the other button is used to vent or slide back the glass board of the sunroof. We have some various controls to either side over here, like an SOS button, also like a sort of a maintenance button. We also have LED tap lights on the interior too. And now that the sunshade is opened completely, we have a very large section up front that opens and a nice smaller section for the rear passengers. To round things off, we of course have the sun visors. You can't forget about that. They have the card holders and a mirror and light. But that pretty much does it for the features section of this review. Let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. Alrighty, let's see what it's like to drive the Jaguar F-Pace. Really, really beautiful vehicle. I'm thoroughly impressed with this car, just the way it looks and the color combination on this car. Kind of a sucker for dark blue exteriors and the nice tan or brown interiors. So we do have a nice little driving route planned out for you. Not a very large test drive since we are in a city setting, the capital of Connecticut. We are in Hartford. So lots of city driving going around here, but that is good for you guys that do live around the city or in the city every once in a while. So you get to see how this car is light to light. We'll also get an acceleration clip and kind of get a good feel on how it handles. Now, right off the bat, this car does ride very nice. Just taking it over the smaller bumps down here, you know, the suspension soaks them up very nicely, and already I could tell this is more of a comfort rather than sport tuned suspension. Now the seats too are very comfortable. We have 4-way lumbar, which helps out with that comfort level. And the Turbo 4 seems to have pretty good low down power and is also very quiet and smooth, I have to say that. The 8-speed transmission is definitely helping out with that smoothness as well. But yeah, you can barely hear the 4-cylinder upon acceleration, which is pretty awesome. It's almost non-existent, the gasoline mode. It almost feels like you're driving an electric car when you're just coasting, because you don't hear the gasoline engine whatsoever, and you also really don't feel anything at all. You know, even on an idle, you know, most of the time, you know, with any other car, you'll get a very subtle vibration, but, you know, even on this, just holding onto the steering wheel or holding onto anything in the interior, it is just a very smooth 4-cylinder. And away we go. The steering actually has a pretty quick ratio too, which is pretty nice for the city, and also the back roads. You can kind of carve along on the fun sort of turns and whatnot. I am kind of blown away by just how quiet it is in here. There's really, you know, up at 45 to 50 miles an hour, there is virtually no tire noise. I'm going to put it down into the dynamic mode, and we will get an acceleration clip. Get it to 25 miles an hour and kind of mash the throttle. That way we'll see how fast the transmission reacts and how fast it can get up to speed. So we are at 25, and yeah, so really pretty swift acceleration from this F-Pace with the 2-liter turbo. We do have a nice little corner here. Yeah, definitely pretty direct steering for this car. And the suspension does hold its own. And kind of switch it back to comfort. So yeah, pretty impressed with the acceleration. You know, the 8-speed did a quick enough job of switching up our gears so that we are in the power band. And you know, other SUVs in this segment might have a little bit more horsepower, but I can tell you that the 247 this car produces is plenty, for me at least. And if it's not for you, then I also have the turbocharged inline-6 and the supercharged V8 on top of this engine choice, which should definitely suit anybody's needs. But yeah, to wrap up the F-Pace, I really do like this car, and the overall design on the exterior looks very sporty and classy, and the same thing with the interior. It's just looking at this steering wheel, it's just probably one of the most beautiful steering wheels on the market, especially with that color matching the interior color of this car. But yeah, plenty of features, plenty of power, and very impressive dynamics out on the road. So, you know, the fast steering and the very quiet engine and the very quiet ride too. So yeah, pretty impressive all the way around with this F-Pace. To round out the video, I hope you have enjoyed the F-Pace just as much as I have. And I also hope you stay with us here at Tide Drives for more videos just like this one.